Bachelor of Science in Mathematics, the Ohio State, and an executive MBA from Loyola College. He has been a member of the Young Presidents Organization, the Cleveland chapter, since 2002. He's lived in Hudson since 2001, where he and his wife Patty raised 4 children through the Hudson schools. Chris serves as an elder at Christ Community Chapel and has started the nonprofit with a passion project with Patty to build Hudson Community Living. Project is set to open first quarter of 2025, with residents moving in at that time. Please join me in giving a warm Rotary welcome to Chris Guerrero.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm glad to be here and try to at least give you a little bit of insight on what's happening across from the police station. I know some of you have started told me to walk by it a bunch of times, and I've started to see it pop out of the ground in the last 6 months. But I want to take you back really a little over 20 years ago. There was actually this town is known because they have incredible resources in the high school, elementary school for children with all kinds of developmental disabilities, from autism to cerebral palsy to anything else that may make them a little bit different from some of the typical kids in this area. And about 21 years ago, there was actually a group of parents and teachers that before that time, they used to all send all those kids down to the Weaver School to talk. And 21 years ago, the departments in the school and the parents decided we want to fight the criminal activities. And that's what they did. They won the battle. And so I say our project started 21 years ago, because when we did that, Hudson became a magnet for more families with developmental disabilities. We're one of them. We moved here in 2001, not because we had a child with a developmental disability. We didn't even know we had one at that point in time. But we quickly found out that our son was diagnosed with something called Fragile X, which is on the autism spectrum. Although he's pretty highly functional, his IQ is pretty low. The good news is we're on the better side of having someone with a developmental disability, because he can talk to us, he can carry on a job part-time, he can engage in conversations. But our community really has revolved around a bunch of families now with developmental disability. So as you probably experienced, when your kids grow up and they go through high school, they take off for college, your friend group changes because you don't see the parents that you used to see at all the high school events and kids sports and all that kind of stuff. But when you have a child with developmental disability and they graduate from high school, they actually get to stay in Hudson 4 years after graduation. They do a social graduation, then they work on, really they get assigned to different companies around the area, and they work alongside with helpers, try to identify jobs that they may or may not be able to do. So they learn how to either fail or to succeed in those jobs. And then ultimately, in my son's case, it led to a job at Pepper's Fresh Market in Northfield. But our community never changes. The hard thing, though, is now they don't have a place to congregate together. So they're used to hanging out with each other where they have socialization. But now they're back home, and you're back to, in a sense, planning play dates for your 25-year-old or 30-year-old children. Our friend, Ara Baglasarian, lives in Solon. He has 2 kids with Fragile X. Fragile X has a big spectrum. His kids, one of them's nonverbal, the other one talks a little bit, but they're both more complicated than my son. He came up with a concept where he said, because today the solutions that they offer you through Summit PD or any county development board is, hey, buy a house in town, put 3 or 4 kids in it, or young adults, get a caregiver to service that house. And then the neighbors will come around them and befriend them and invite them over to dinner, and they'll be part of the community. Well, in a lot of cases that may happen, but to be honest, most of the time it doesn't. Because you're pretty sure what's going in that house. People change often. The caregivers don't stay long, and it's kind of a lonely, funny job. You're in a house with 3 or 4 kids that may or may not be able to communicate to you, and they just don't stick around long. So we're seeing that model fail. Ara came alongside and said, I want to change it. I want to make it like a mini senior living center where I can have a full house and units behind it. He asked us to be a part of that. We came alongside him and helped him as much as we could financially. But at the end of the day, having our son leave Hudson was going to be a big deal. Because he knows more people walking around this town than we know. People say hi to him when he's met at school, teachers, friends. Everybody seems to gravitate towards these kids. I love that. So my wife said to me, this was probably 5 years ago, can we ever do something like that in Hudson? I said, I don't know, I'm in the middle of a startup company. I have no idea what's going to happen, but it'd be great someday if we could ever do something like that. I was in the middle of a startup, and you mentioned Victory Innovations. We actually, I grabbed a couple friends and we started a company, and one of them had this idea to make these sprayers that would disinfect large areas. We thought they'd be used in hospitals and gyms and schools, and that's what we were selling sprayers to for the first couple of years. And then COVID hit. And somehow we became the poster child for every organization around the world, how they were going to try to bring customers back into their stores, kids back into the schools, sports teams that keep going. And we were literally, we were on airline commercials. We were in all the sporting events. They would show us during the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. They showed us in Major League Baseball. They showed us on Monday Night Football. And the next thing we know, we were shipping sprayers all over the world. I can only say for me, it turned into a God thing. Because COVID, as nasty as it was, somehow God blessed us during that. We sold the company in 2020. By the way, then the company got small again. After COVID, people said, hey, we don't need to do disinfectant when you're doing. So my wife looks at me and she goes, well, now can we do community living? Can we do the community here? And I go, I'm just off this crazy train that just drove me nuts for a year. But let's talk about it. Give me a couple months. So of course, 2 months later, my wife Patty goes, we'll talk about it now. I'm ready. I go, all right, I don't know where to start. I'll call a couple friends and I'll see if I can meet with the city and see what's even possible. And she goes, well, don't forget, it needs to be walking distance to downtown Hudson. I said, well, that'll make it a lot easier because there's so much land in Hudson to buy. But anyways, I met with Greg Hannon and Nick Sugar and Tom Sheridan, and they had already done some pre-work for us. And they said, hey, there's not a lot of land you can buy, but I do know across from the police station, there's an old house and a warehouse, and then behind it is some landlocked piece of property. You have to piece that all together, but I think the gentleman that owns the house and the warehouse, he passed away and it's somewhere in his wife's estate. She doesn't live here. You can track down her daughter. And so anyways, I came home to my wife and I said, this is going to be expensive property, but you said it has to be there distance downtown Hudson. And she said, I think we need to try to get it. So I do listen to my wife. She's got more wisdom on some of this stuff than I do. So we actually did that. We were able to piece together 4 pieces of property, which is about 4 acres of land. Just before we did that, we had 2 meetings in our house with all of our friends with kids with developmental disabilities. We had, I think, probably 15 families in the first meeting and 15 families in the second meeting. And when we laid this out, parents started crying. Because their biggest stressor is, where does my kid go when we're not here prepared for? What's the plan? And in a lot of cases, they have 1 or 2 kids with developmental disabilities that they don't have anymore. They're afraid they're going to have a second or third. And so we said we have to do it. So that's how we started down this journey. Our plan is to house 32 adults with special needs and give them a place where they can have fun, where they can be in community, but they can grow in their independence. Because when they're home, we will do as much for them as we can because it's easy and teaching them something. But when they're with caregivers or when they're in different other places, we realize they're growing faster without us. So the plan is this: if you go by the site, you're going to see a big building, a white building. It's our clubhouse. Our clubhouse will be where they could watch TV, they could play games, they can gather with friends. We actually have a multi-purpose room in there. We'll have a basketball hoop, and we can hold dances for the community of other kids with developmental disabilities where we can congregate. We're also putting in a commercial kitchen because most of these young adults and some are in their 40s, but most of these residents don't cook or can't cook safely. Some can. But we wanted to give them an option, just like a college campus, where they could buy into a meal plan if that made sense for that resident. And they'll be able to buy X amount of meals a month, and we'll have a chef in there cooking nutritious meals. One of the things we've also seen is when some of these folks move out of their houses, they tend to gain 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds because they're eating something that's really easy to cook as opposed to something that's healthy for them. So we think there'll be some health benefits. Behind the clubhouse, you're going to see a series of triplexes and duplexes. Each unit has two bedrooms. Each bedroom has its own bathroom and closet. We heard cleanliness is an issue in roommates, even in this field, probably the same with us. They'll have a caregiver area in each unit, so that if they do need an overnight caregiver, they have a place. Today, the caregivers will sleep on a chair or a couch in a group home. We wanted them to have a bed because we want to attract caregivers to want to work in our community. It's stable. Excuse me. And then we have a family room, a kitchen, and a laundry room, and some of the units have garages. Now they'll be mostly used by caregivers, but we do have 4 residents that are able to drive as well in our community that are going to move in. So we'll have 32 residents living independently in there unless they need caregivers. If they need caregivers, instead of working outside the system that Summit ED has designed, we're going to work within it. So each resident, based on their need of care, is allowed what's called waiver funding. And waiver funding pays for caregiver support for each resident. So if they need that, the guardians of the resident, a lot of times it's the same person, will have to organize their own caregiver for the person, which actually works well. Put that burden on us, and they know their kids go to their meeting, so they'll get the right caregiver. But to be honest, there'll be at least 40% of the people that we believe with just the support they'll have, because we're going to have a director on site in the morning. Second shift, we'll have an assistant director on site. We're going to have 4 resident advisors at state living on our property in their own unit. Their job will be to befriend 8 residents each. During the week, spend a couple hours a night with them, encourage them to go to the clubhouse or walk around the tracks behind Barlow. And just be a friend to them. On weekends, they'll cover in the clubhouse, so our directors get a break to do that. All the units are designed so that they always exit inside, so it's an L-shaped field, but there's sidewalks down the middle of it, so that they can see their friends up from their family if they're walking to the clubhouse. So a lot of intentionality to that. There's one ring road on the outside, and it's a one-way road. Thank you. So we are set to open in the first quarter of this year. We hired our director. She's from Nordonia. She spent 11 years working. There's an autism school inside the Cleveland Clinic, and she did a lot of the programming there. One of the things we love is when they had to move to COVID protocols, she put together the curriculum that the school used. So she's awesome, and she's a part of this community that we really fell in love with her. So we feel like she's the perfect person to lead this. We're in our job search right now for an assistant director. And then Kent State said they have plenty of people already to fill the RA position. So we feel like we've got a plan that's working. We have 9 committees with family members, parents working on it, and they've been hugely helpful to us. We're still praying for the families to get the right caregivers. So caregivers, I told you, it's kind of a great job. It's the #1 job opening in the state of Ohio right now. There's 9,000 open caregiver positions. They just gave the caregivers a 31% raise to try to attract more into the field. We believe that if we can get them to see what our vision and what we're doing, and they realize, oh, I can go to the clubhouse with the residents, I can hang out with other caregivers while I'm in there. I have a place to sleep if I have to have a chair or a couch. So we're trying to do everything we can to attract good caregivers to this community. So phase one really is to get this up and running and make it successful. Some of you may have seen that we're also, the state of Ohio is working on bringing the Special Olympic Nationals for Cleveland. I'm actually serving on a committee with the Cleveland Sports Commission to do that. In a perfect world, Ara and I will take our communities, we'll have then 3 years of experience with residents living in the communities. We want to write a case study and a playbook. And our goal would be to bring tours through both of our communities so that we can start expanding this kind of community across the country. Our vision, and my wife's vision, is that we would try to do one next in an area like Talmud or Akron, and somewhere where they may not have the ability to do Hudson. We've been blessed. We've run a couple events. We ran a gala last year. Our project is about $10.8 million. Build the whole thing. We had a gala last year. We had almost 300 people there that helped us in our fundraising efforts. We have a lot of parents and other folks that have reached out and have donated to our cause. And so we're probably going to come out of our project with about $1.7, $1.8 million in debt. The residents all pay rent, but we're trying to keep the rent as low as possible so that they could stay there for life. So a lot of private ones that are around the country, which are all private pay, it's over $3,000 a month to live in those communities. We're trying to keep rent between $1,550 and $1,650. We can do that once we get that through. So we're gonna take a leap here and start out with those rents, continue to fundraise to pay down the debt over the next couple of years. That's kind of our plan for this one. So the goal would be, can we then start a foundation? And this is part of my wife's and my dream as well, where we can then sponsor another project in another community, where we could say, hey, we'll match up to X amount of dollars to help you start one in your community. So that's kind of where our longer term vision is. I know I said it's got to be more than one or two. We got to build more of these communities for this community. We do have another gala coming up the 25th of this month. Yes, October. We actually have Jim Trussell coming. Buckeye fans. One of our friends played for him when he was a graduate assistant at Akron, and we've been friends ever since. Jim's going to come with his wife Ellen and do a little talk at our event and help us at fundraising. We still have about 100 tickets available for that. Might be a great place if you want to jump in and see what we're doing. Questions, comments? Yeah. All right. Good to see you, buddy.
And Chris is right about David. I've known David since he was a little boy. I used to have the privilege working with him in the nursery at Christ Community Chapel. He always pops his head up when I come around the corner with a smile on his face. I don't know why, but he does. And another thing Chris didn't mention, a great guy you guys know here in Hudson. He's a construction manager, builder. George Roth, I believe, is heading up your project. So the guys know who Roth does a really nice job. So 2 questions. I think you answered one about fundraiser. Right now you're a 501c3. You are accepting public contributions. Is there information that we can have?
Yeah, I actually left some brochures in the back. It drives you to our website. We do accept donations through Hudson Community Foundation here in town. And then you just add, /HCL onto the living in need. That's ours.
I'll grab one. And the second question is, you described the facility. Is there going to be a walkthrough or something that maybe see what it looks like?
Yes. Once we get the sidewalks in and the landscaping, which will be probably by the spring, we would love to get people through. Yeah, that's kind of our plan. It's funny, even our director, she goes, well, when can I meet the residents? We were giving her all the stuff to do and get ahead of it and everything. And she, when can I meet the residents? We have a party, right, all the residents, where she got to meet them. So there's things like this tour that we just mentioned. It's on our list, but we want to make sure that obviously the residents and sidewalks and everything are in, so we can get their great show. But I do think it's going to be a way to spread it out. Wow. Yeah, that's just for the benefit of the folks. You could take as many as. Yeah, that's good.
Unfortunately, when you started, there was a lot of controversy about the site. The neighbors on Fox Trees were really upset. Has there been a détente between you and them?
You know, it was something that was totally unexpected for me, because I actually met with that group, or the leader of that group, in his home. And when I left, he said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I had a false narrative. I think what you're doing is great." And then the next day they started a petition against us. But anyways, I think there was a lot of false narratives that were put out there about what the community was going to be and what it wasn't going to be. But I can tell you, once we finally did go through everything, I think some of the people fell away because they realized, what are we doing? And since then, there's been nothing but support. In fact, they came in and touted this 76 people signed this petition or something. And so we sent out and asked for just letters going in to city council, probably called them. They got over 1,000 letters support in a week and a half. And so he did say, okay, we got your message. And, you could please stop the emails from coming to my inbox. But it was, it just showed that Hudson knows what's going on, and they really did support us in a great way. And for us, we just said, hey, you know, what they meant for you will meant for good. It really spread the word about.
This mic's always so low. I get up here. You know, the Rotary's theme is service above self, and your action and your wife's encouragement is the embodiment. God bless you.
Nothing wrong with that mic up there. No, I obviously I've seen you give the Special Olympics over the years, and I know you support schools, and those are big things, right? We've got to grow our kids up, and we do have support of some great teachers, folks in this area. We feel blessed to even have been on this place. It is special, it really is. One of the other ways, by the way, before I leave, is our plan for the assistant director is really going to be to organize evening activities. And a lot of the residents will work what they have during the day. So there is going to be opportunities, whether it's dancing or art or anything. We will have opportunities for people that want to come in and just serve and some pizza. That will always be available, and we'll have a process to do that.
Do you have plans to have a van to transport people to like employment, or, you know, will that be part of your services?
Yeah, so the good news is the county actually, in addition to caregiver support, has a system of drivers that bring people to work. So we don't have that burden. It is on our list, but it's not our phase one. I think we'd love to be able to, you know, downtown with caregivers, they can walk down there, and a lot of them actually can do it independent. Football games might be a little further, right? So we'd love to be able to even have one van and make a couple runs when we go to some of the games, but I think that'll come soon enough. Good question.
You might want to get in contact with the Residents Association at Laurel Lake, because we have a lot of very skilled artists and other folks that are doing all kinds of off-campus volunteer work. And also we have students coming in to participate in various kinds of things. So talk to Chris.
No, thank you.
I'm Phil Toth. I'm here today. I heard you mention briefly that you're connected with the Hudson Community Foundation in some way. Is that, can you describe that a little bit, that relationship?
Yeah, we basically set up our founding, our money fund through that, and we have an account there that we join so that people can, even if they're already in there, they can transfer funds over to us, or they can give their, knowing that it's going to us.
There's something they can do to help you in the long run, they can talk about it later. The idea of gals, great, raising money, but there's an opportunity there for more permanent type groups coming in, and yes, Hudson Community Foundation helping. It would be a great way for you to build long-term relationship with your donor. You can really help them.
All right, that'd be great. I will be back.
I will be.
But thank you. I feel fortunate, actually.
My other hat on, I'm a child psychiatrist and I work a lot in developmental disabilities. And I agree with you that the apartment or house kind of setting the caregivers doesn't work very well. Have you gotten any interest from Summit County DD or Cuyahoga County DD to start looking at this as a model rather than you having to do it, or if they would partner?
Yeah, actually, part of our case study is just that, Patricia. We've had interest from both Summit DD and Cuyahoga DD, as well as Northwest Community Homes. And the president of Northwest Community Homes runs over 700, I believe, group homes around the county. Is very interested in understanding how we did it, and what we're doing, and how it's going to work. So I think once we can build a successful model, they're very interested in seeing how we're doing. In fact, we had one of the directors from Summit DD walk through the site Friday.
He has a pamphlet. We all know that election day is, I don't know, 30 days away or whatever. Well, correct. But she has actually a document from the League of Women Voters that actually goes through all the candidates as well as all the issues that will be on the ballot when you do go to vote, whether that would be early voting or whether that would be on, what is it, the 5th of November is election day. So they're all in the back of the room back here when you leave. Feel free to pick one up. There's a lot of information in there that, quite frankly, most of us probably don't know. In addition, I wanted to do a thank you and a shout out to Ben Ruxford. Ben is our club treasurer. We've never done it. You probably know why. You probably wanted it. This man takes care of every inflow and every outflow within this club. So the amount of time and effort that Ben puts into running that for us, and Ben's been doing it for quite some time now. There is no area in this club that I feel has any issue whatsoever in our economy. That man could probably point out pennies to you rather than just rounding out the dollars. So, and he is white. I think Sandra still does the, what you call the Friends of Music. Does Sandra still do that, Ben? I think she was president of it, wasn't she? And I think we've had some of that come our way as well. So if you're out and about, give him a thank you for his service. Okay, so let's do Rotary. The winning number is 2561. 2561. Like a lot. So it was written today. Okay, so your payout is $11, jackpot 345. Find the marbles. So they pull the black one out. Not a lot of marbles left. And the pot keeps getting bigger. Okay, before we leave. Useless but important facts. As I said, we were going to kind of keep this theme to Halloween, since we were in the month of October. Does everyone know the movie Halloween? Everybody's seen it at one time or another. In fact, somebody told me the other day they did another one. I don't know how many there are, to be honest with you. So the main character, who actually has no lines in the movie, is Michael Myers, and it was inspired by a Captain Kirk mask. Yes, this was a low-budget film, and so it was revealed the connection between Halloween and Star Trek. Michael Myers' mask in the movie was actually reconstructed from an old Captain Kirk mask. They took so Tommy Wallace, who was the production designer, shaved off the eyebrows, the sideburns, dyed the hair brown, and that's the signature look of your Michael Myers. It's Captain Kirk. See, useful information, huh? But useful. And with that, everyone have a wonderful Wednesday. We'll see you here next week.